In this video, we're going to talk about the real reason why new sellers are struggling to make a profit on Amazon at the moment. So over the past few months, I've had a number of sellers that have come to me that have successfully launched a product on Amazon, they're making sales and they've got it ranked, but they're not actually making any money. And in this video, we're going to look at why and what you can do about it, because the good news is it can be fixed in most instances. So we're going to use the car boot protector niche as an example in this video, as this is the first product that I ever sold on Amazon. And this really demonstrates the issue that new sellers are facing. So your typical customer, this is what they experience now. They come to Amazon, they pop in a search term, and this is what they are presented with. They get a massive video at the top. It might not always be a video, but a massive advert at the top. And then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products, all sponsored products. So the first 5 products are all sponsored listings. And this is the issue. Amazon is now effectively paid to play. Unless you are good at PPC and sponsored ads, you will not succeed on Amazon. Even if you can make sales, you won't make profit if you're not doing it well. But like I say, we can fix a lot of the main issues. And in this video, I'm going to run through, I think 5 or 6 things I've got them noted down here off to the side of the screen that will make a big difference when you launch your first campaigns on Amazon. So our goal is with sponsored ads is to make sales with these listings, or these positions, should I say, so that we can then get ranked in these organic positions. So you can see these guys here, they're paying for adverts, and then they're a third in the organic search results. So they'll be making a lot of profit from this particular listing, but not necessarily from their PPC ads. And what is happening is a lot of new Amazon sellers, and this isn't necessarily their own fault, some of this is Amazon, they're spending an absolute fortune on adverts to get these sales and to get ranked, but they're spending so much that there's not enough profit left in it to make it worthwhile doing. So I'm going to go through some of the most common mistakes so that you guys can be aware of it when you're building your campaigns, or if you're already selling on Amazon, go and check to make sure you're doing things this way. So the first one is be careful that you don't get basically tripped up by Amazon. The most common types of campaigns you're going to be running on Amazon, despite the fact you have a huge array of options here, either manual campaigns where you're entering the keywords yourself, or you're going to be running an auto campaign, but often both at the same time. So these are just going to be standard sponsored products campaigns. So if we click the create campaign button, that will bring you to this screen. So whether we're creating an auto campaign or a manual campaign where you're entering your own keywords, both options have a bit of a trap. And if you fall into this trap, both types of campaigns will waste an awful lot of money on PPC spend. And believe me, I see this all the time. New sellers will send me their PPC reports and I'll just see huge amounts of wasted spend on these things. So let's do a auto campaign first. So if we scroll down, we're going to choose automatic targeting, already selected. Now, a lot of new sellers will just enter a bid. So they'll be like, I'm going to bid 50p or 60p or 70p. The issue is you're going to waste a lot of that spend. So we have another option here, which is set bids by targeting group. And unless we do this, Amazon is automatically going to target all 4 groups. And I can tell you from the number of PPC reports that I've seen, 3 out of 4 of these don't perform very well at all. Sometimes one of them does okay, but this is what I would recommend. If you're launching a new product, turn off loose match, substitutes, and complements. So close match and loose match, they are related to the search terms related to your product. Is it a closely matched search term or a loosely matched search term? And substitutes and complements, that is basically advertising your product on other products. Now, during a launch stage, I don't necessarily want to drive sales from being advertised on other products. My goal is to get ranked. So I want to get ranked from the search terms. So I'd rather invest in getting my adverts in front of people that are searching for particular search terms rather than advertising on other people's product listings. So I would say if you're doing an auto campaign, limit it to close match. Now, if you do want to generate some sales from other people's listings, sure, you can turn on substitutes. Sometimes that does perform well, but I would put that into a separate campaign. Don't have all 4 of these running in the one campaign. So that is the first thing. This is where I see an awful lot of money wasted for people that are using auto campaigns. Now, if you're doing manual targeting campaigns, there are 2 other things that catch people out. Number 1, although you're supposed to be entering your own list, Amazon very cheekily include this one here, keywords related to your product category. So often people end up putting in a bid here. So for example, if we bid in, I don't know, maybe 70p, but this is like a very, very broad match. This is going to target hundreds of different keywords. And if you set up this campaign because you're going to target 5 or 6 keywords, and all of a sudden this campaign is also targeting another 100 keywords, you're going to burn through your spend and you don't know how well targeted this is. So make sure you delete this before you put in your own keywords such as boot protector, boot liner, etc. And this is the other trap. Be very careful when you're adding these. If you're adding these as exact match or a phrase match, make sure you untick the other boxes. If you don't, by default, Amazon will do this. They'll add that keyword in as exact, phrase, and broad match, which is going to just be, it's just a complete waste of money. You only ever want to choose one of these. So that was the first thing. Be aware of those traps. This is Amazon trying to catch you out to get you to spend a load more money without you actually realizing it. So number 2, excessive use of broad match search terms. So if you are doing your own manual campaigns and you think, right, I'm going to target boot liner as a broad match. Okay, maybe that's not terrible on its own. But then you think I'm also going to target boot protector as a broad match as well. Now what's going to happen, these 2 keywords are going to cover 90% of the same search terms. Broad match is very, very broad on Amazon. So for most new sellers, I recommend, although you can get results from broad match, and certainly as part of other strategies, but as part of a launch campaign, I would say avoid broad match. If you're trying to do like a research campaign, doing a discovery campaign, use an auto campaign. Don't use broad match. Otherwise, this is going to target hundreds, if not thousands, of other keywords. And sometimes I get sellers come to me and they've put 10 different broad match keywords in one campaign. And that's targeting thousands of different search terms. And it makes it really hard to optimize and keep track of where that spend is going. Now, I recommend limiting yourself to either exact match or phrase match, as it gives you a lot more control. So let's say we were going to add boot liner as exact match. Now that's okay, and in some niches that would be absolutely fine. You have to make this decision based on your own keyword research. But in this niche, I think things like boot liner and boot protector would work better as phrase match, and I'll show you why. If we go back to the niche, if we go to search expand here and we put in boot liner, it's going to show us some of the phrases that contain boot liner. So we've got boot liner for dogs, yeah, that would be relevant. Boot liner with bumper flap, car boot liners for wellies. So straight away, we've got a negative one there that we're going to want to get rid of. Car boot liners for dogs, SUV, Peugeot. And this is, I remember myself when I used to sell in this niche, the reason I used phrase match is so many people would include their car brand in the search term. So I could go after all of them as I had a universal product. Whereas if I did exact match, I'm only going to be returned for either boot liner or boot protector. So you have to strike that balance between phrase and exact. And that's why it's so important to look at the data to see whether it's going to work well for your niche or not. So I think boot liner as a phrase match would work exceptionally well in this niche. And I actually know it does. The same with boot protector. Whereas if I put it in as exact match, I'm going to be missing out on an awful lot of relevant traffic. And just going back to my earlier point, if you do your keyword research and you are doing phrase match, you can highlight up front some of the keywords that you can add as negatives before your campaigns even start. Why wait a couple of weeks for lots of data to then negate those keywords when you know up front? If someone's searching for wellies or they're searching for men or for women, that isn't relevant to your product. So when you're building out your campaign, you can add them in, if I can find it here. There'll be some negative keyword targeting. So you can add them in here. So I would add them as a phrase. I'd add man and I'd add wellies. So any of the search terms containing that I would not show up. I would not advertise for those search terms. So those are a couple of things you can do. Don't use broad match in general as new sellers, as that's more for discovery and you've got your auto campaign for that. And then choose whether you're using phrase or exact match. But don't use both together for the same search term. Also, if you are doing phrase match and it is a search term that's likely to get a lot of search volume, I would probably put either in its own campaign, so literally just boot liner in its own campaign, or maybe 2 or 3 search terms max in that campaign. And that brings me on to the third point, which is not splitting your campaigns by search volume. So what do I mean by this? Well, if we go over to Cerebro, I've already done a lookup on this niche to get the best keywords to target. What I often see is that people set up a few campaigns, which is great. You know, you don't want to have too many keywords in any individual campaign. I would say no more than 3 to 5 high volume search terms in one campaign. And if they're low volume, maybe up to 10, 15 in if they're super low volume. And the reason for this, if I put all of these in the same campaign, these 4 at the top here with a search volume of 2,200, 1,100, 1,100, 1,100, these would dominate all the spend. There's a total search volume there. What have we got? 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, about 5,500 of search volume. So if I put these in the same campaign as these guys aren't going to get any exposure. So what I would probably do in this scenario, Car Boot Protect here at 2,254, I would probably put that as a phrase match. I'd put in its own campaign. These next 3 here, I would probably put in a campaign together. So phrase match on Bootliner. Actually, I wouldn't include Dog Guard for Car Boot because that is not relevant. So I'd delete that from the list. And Car Boot Liners. So I would put Bootliner and Car Boot Liners, 1166 and 1100. Put these 2 in a campaign. And then you can either group all of these up. But there's quite a few search terms here. So maybe you'd have another 4 or 5 here. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then put them ones in a campaign together. And then the rest of them here, put them in a campaign together. And this way, your high volume search terms will get their own budget. Your medium volume search terms get some budget, and your low volume search terms get some budget, rather than these dominating the spend and these never getting shown because the high volume ones are eating all the budget. Some of these may have an amazing conversion rate and a super low ACOS. So we want to give these, I guess, their moment in the sun, give them their own dedicated budget in their own campaign. So never put low volume search terms in with high volume search terms. Always split by the search volumes when you're creating your campaigns. Now this next one is slightly controversial. Well, it's not controversial, but it's more scary for new sellers, and I completely understand. One of the biggest reasons that I see new sellers fail at Amazon, but also not make any money, is they don't spend enough on PPC. And I know that sounds like I'm going against everything else I've been talking about in this video. But what happens is, if we just run X-ray from Helium 10 here and take a look at the estimates for this niche, the sales estimates, we can see 100, 600, 1,000, 100, 300. I mean, to get ranked in this niche, realistically, you're probably going to need to do 200 sales a month. I know you've got a couple here at 100 plus, but I reckon 200 plus would give you a decent chance of getting ranked in the top 10. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need to sell maybe 7 units a day. Now, what I often see with new sellers is they are reluctant to spend too much on PPC, as they don't want to lose too much money. I completely understand that. So they'll spend £20 and they're getting 2 to 3 sales a day and they're not losing too much money. Maybe they're close to break even, but they never actually hit the sales velocity necessary to get ranked into these positions. So sometimes you have to front load your spend. Sometimes you're going to have to run at a loss for a good few weeks, sometimes longer. So instead of spending £20 a day, you might need to spend £50 a day. And that's going to feel very, very painful. But if you can get your organic ranks into these top 10 positions, then you'll start to get the organic sales where the profit really comes from. And then once your organic sales are high enough, you can then throttle back on PPC. But taking this kind of gentle approach of, oh, I'll get a couple of sales, I don't want to lose too much money, my ACOS is quite high. Although I completely understand the mindset, you are basically fighting with one hand behind your back, and you will never become profitable. It will just be a slow bleed for many, many months until you run out of inventory, rather than paying up front, get ranked, and then the profit, and then you can start making your money. So not spending enough is one of the big problems I see in people who end up losing money on Amazon. Number 5, negating good keywords. And a shout out to my Amazon guy, Stephen Pope, because he was the one that initially made you think about this many years ago. Is in the early days when we started Amazon PPC campaigns, we would set up an auto campaign, and the keywords that performed well, we would move into their own exact match or phrase match campaigns, and then we'd add those same search terms as negatives in the original auto campaign so that we weren't targeting them twice. The issue with this is you'll often find that keywords that are in your auto campaign will have a lower ACOS than the exact same keyword in an exact match campaign, because auto bids are usually lower than exact match bids. So if you do take a keyword from auto, if you've got an auto campaign and you found some keywords that are performing well and you do add them to an exact match campaign, don't automatically negate them in the auto campaign. See how they perform in the exact match campaign first. Give both campaigns a couple more weeks and then compare the data to see how things stack up. You might find you end up with a 30% ACOS in exact match and 25% in auto, and you decide to keep both running. It depends on your overall ranking goals. But certainly don't disable them, don't add them as negative straight away just because you're putting them into an exact match campaign. Then the final one. This is the one which probably costs most people the most money, and that is poor keyword research. So this is just a very quick example here of keyword research I've done in Cerebro. This is from Helium 10. So I've taken 10 of the best-selling products on Amazon for car boot protector, and then I've analyzed them all to see what other keywords they are ranked for. And these are the common keywords that they are ranked for. And I've got some filters here at the top. I'll come back to that in a moment. And I see a lot of sellers rush through this stage. They don't take any time to manually go through this list to make sure they are relevant. And you want these keywords to be super relevant as well. So if I take out some of the filters here, so you look at this keyword list at the moment, car boot protector is the number one target here, 2,254 search volume, really, really relevant to the product I'd be selling. But if I take out some of these filters, and this is where new sellers go wrong, they might look at this and be like, look, I did Cerebro, I did a reverse ASIN lookup, I looked at the other 10 products to see what they're ranking for, and I decided to target car accessories. It's got 53,000 search volume. Now, for most new sellers, this would be a terrible idea. This is a huge amount of search volume. This is not relevant enough. You want to be targeting customers that are coming to Amazon to buy a boot protector or a boot liner, not customers that have come on and searched for car accessories because they don't have a specific product in mind. Now, car accessories, maybe you want to try and rank for further down the line. Get your product launched and you're making plenty of profit and you think, you know what, I want to try and take this product to the next level. Sure, you might want to go after car accessories then, but as part of your launch, this is not relevant, and this is why we use some of the filters we do. Now, if you're not sure how to do keyword research and to get a list like I've got in front of me now, I'm going to pop up a video which will show you how to do this step by step, and I'll see you guys over there.